Bob, do you know how to turn your video camera on? Let's see if I can ask you. I've sent you a little request to turn your camera on. Judy is coming.
Yeah, let me tell you this. So whenever you access the in for $65.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, good morning.
Go ahead and keep your camera on so we can see your face.
Okie doke.
If you
It
can.
helps us know if we're losing you or if you're
Yeah.
confused.
I'm confused most of the time.
We can see you, we can read your body language. So
Okay, fair enough.
especially for this class. Some classes it doesn't matter, but for this class we like to know if anybody's confused or not.
Okay.
All right, it's 11 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. And Leah, if you'll go ahead and get us started, that'd be awesome.
Okay. So we're green for spring, and you'll see a lot of green in this video, and green is on the cover of our LifeQuest printed brochure. Green is our theme for the spring, but congratulations everyone, you've made it this far. If you can get, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, if you can get here and you can hear and see us on Zoom, you can take our LifeQuest classes, and I've recognized some faces, so I know you already have. Some of this is going to be really basic information, and some of it will be over your head, and that's okay. You can come back as many times to this how-to tutorial taught by Gina and I, or you can watch the recording. The recording of this is on our Facebook page, and we'll tell you how to get to there. It's also on our YouTube channel. So the first thing we're going to talk about is just what are we doing today and how to be online. We're going to talk to you about how to get to our classes, some general tips about how to register for them, and how to join our classes and how to find them. Then we're going to go into a little bit of a how-to on Zoom, some basic information about Zoom classes and some Zoom etiquette that you may or may not know. And then we're going to talk about Facebook, how to find Facebook classes, how to join our private spring term Facebook group. So you can leave at any point. You're not going to hurt our feelings. You can stay for the whole thing, and you can come back as many times as you'd like. We will take your questions throughout our presentation today because we want this to be what you want to know about, but we are going to try to cover as much as possible in this first time so that folks who are watching our recording can get their questions answered as well. Okay, so the very first thing is how to mute and unmute yourself, because if you're going to ask a question, you need to know how to do that. So if you'll find, and go ahead and practice this with us, if you'll find your old-fashioned microphone that's on your Zoom toolbar and unmute yourself and say hello. One thing to know about Zoom toolbars is they disappear quickly. You have to move your mouse or move your cursor to kind of make them reappear either down from the top or come up from the bottom.
Hello.
Yes. Linda, can you find your mute button? And Ophelia?
Hello.
Judy did. So when you move your mouse to kind of wake up your cursor, can you see that old-fashioned microphone that pops up? It's a gray toolbar, and it should be all the way over in one corner. If it has a red line through it, you're muted.
Another method is that if you're on a desktop and you have access to a keyboard, hold the space bar button down and you should be able to speak, and then let go and you should be able to stop. So if you want to test that out, just hold your space bar, see if you can say something.
Hello.
We heard you.
I'm finally finding some buttons.
Yeah, okay. Linda, let me ask you to unmute. Let's see if we can get you to.
If we see that you're having trouble in class, we can
Linda?
also ask on our end, and you'll get a little pop-up window that says, yes, let them unmute you, and we'll let your voice be heard somehow.
There's Linda.
Okay, I'm unmuted now.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
you're unmuted.
Okay,
And
great.
do you know how to mute yourself back?
No, there's a, up in the left corner that says mute, little microphone.
Yeah.
You just,
You can click that.
okay.
All right, Bob had to leave us and come back so that he could join his audio with us. He's unmuted now. Can you say hi?
I don't hear Bob yet.
Nope, I don't hear Bob yet either,
Okay,
but I hope he
Lin-
can hear us. I'll
And
chat
Linda-
with him in the time and see if he can.
And Linda, I'm going to go ahead and mute you, but if you
Okay.
don't feel shy about pushing buttons. This is a time to practice with us. And so if you have any questions about that. So muting and unmuting is kind of one of the first things that we talk about in a Zoom class. And at any point today, if you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. Okay.
Is there a way to record this on my end? I know I don't need to, but in the event I wanted to record a program.
We don't allow users to record our meetings. We record them and then we hook you up with a library so that you can see how to watch them.
Thank
And
you.
we'll show you that.
We'll show you how to get to the recording. Okay, so some general tips that when you're taking online classes, you'll need to have your device plugged in. And when I say device, I mean if you're watching on your iPad or your laptop or your computer or even your phone, make sure it's plugged into a power outlet because Zoom uses up a lot of energy. And it's happened to me before where I've been in the middle of a meeting and my battery dies. And so then, what do you do? So keep it plugged in. We know that Zoom is very visual and it really tries to keep your screen as uncluttered as possible. So it's going to hide that toolbar. And that's kind of confusing because you think, well, where did the mute button go? It disappears on purpose. You have to move your mouse to make that gray toolbar either at the very top or at the very bottom. It's a menu bar that has a lot of buttons or icons on it. And so you'll see the mute, stop video. We'll go over what some of those look like. But it hides it on purpose. And so you have to touch your screen or move your toolbar, your cursor to make your menu options pop back up. We suggest that you get in a room where you're by yourself so there's you can pay more attention and that there's not a lot going on behind you. Although sometimes we've had members take Zoom classes at Starbucks or in their car. Don't suggest that you drive and take class, but it is probably a good idea to try to get in a room by yourself. And we do like to see you. We feel like we're all isolated enough as it is, so we like to see your faces. And so if you have a bright light behind you, we may just see your silhouette. But if you have the light facing you, we'll be able to see you. And if you can have your video on, we can see your face. You also may have to adjust your screen where it's not just the top of your head showing, but it's actually your face. And we can talk about that in a moment. So here's some LifeQuest class basics. We will send mass emails. If you have opted out of email communication, you're going to miss our mass emails. And some of these are kind of important because they tell you who's coming up as a guest speaker this week, trip opportunities, maybe a class time has changed. And so we try to send those weekly, either on a Monday or Tuesday. So if you're not receiving our emails, let us know. Because you may have opted out and not known that you have. We also want to talk a little about passwords. Passwords are the bane of everyone's existence. We have a password for everything. So we try to make it as simple as possible, but we do have passwords that we have to use to attend class. So anything that's public, like this class, the how-to class, obviously we want as many people to come to this as possible. You can share this with friends and family. We want everyone in the world to be able to come to our how-to class. And so that public password is LifeQuest, all lowercase. LifeQuest is for all public events. And you only need passwords for Zoom. You don't have to have passwords for Facebook. Every term, we will send you a registration confirmation email, and that will give you the passwords for that. If you want to attend spring term classes, you will get an email that shows you how to log into our website, and you can take classes from our website. You only probably need to log in once, and then you don't have to remember, but you could write it on a sticky next to your computer so you always remember what that login password is. And then if you've chosen to take a limited class, this is a class that maybe only allows 12 or 16 people to enroll. Those would be things like great books or paper crafting. Those small, intentionally limited classes will have their own password, and that will be sent to you in a separate email. But otherwise, if you're taking open enrollment classes, you can attend any of the ones you want. You don't have to register for each class, just those limited ones. We don't remind you, when we were here at Second Pres, we would ring a bell or you'd hear a doorbell when it was time to go to class. Well, we're not all here together. So we do recommend that you write it on a calendar, set an alarm on your phone, a note on your fridge to remind you when class happens. But if you miss a class, most of them are recorded, and so you can watch them after the fact. Sometimes it's also important to set a reminder about picking up your food. If you've ordered one of our curbside chef-prepared meals, the pickup is every Thursday from 2:30 to 3:30. And folks sometimes forget when their food is being picked up, so we want you to set a reminder for that. So our classes start Monday. April 5th is the first class, and if you haven't registered yet, you can register online, by mail, or even over the phone. Our LifeQuest offices, even if we have Friday classes, our offices are open Monday through Thursday from 9 to 4. We're closed on Fridays. And so if you leave us a message really late Thursday, we're not going to get back to you until Monday. But we will respond to messages even if we're working out of the office Monday through Thursday. This building that we are in, Second Presbyterian Church, the building is still closed. They are continually evaluating when they might reopen to the public, but because the building is closed, our classes are still all online for spring term. So you see two umbrellas, and this is kind of a way for us to describe how we've had to pivot and operate online. We have a public persona and a private persona. A public persona is like anybody, any organization that is online. They have, like everybody else, LifeQuest has a public website. Anybody can find, you can Google LifeQuest of Arkansas and you can find our website. We have a public Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, you could do a search for LifeQuest of Arkansas and you'll find our Facebook page, and there's a lot of information on our Facebook page. We even have a YouTube channel because we've had to become quite techie in this online Zoom world. And there's no passwords needed for anything that's public. You can share it with friends and family. You can tell people about it. Anybody can go to anything that's public, just like any business. But because LifeQuest classes have a fee, and if you've paid for those classes, why pay for them if they're just open to everybody? So we do have some restricted private components, and those are for members only. So our website, even though the website can be found by anybody and the website is public, you as a registered member will get a password to log in. And you'll be able to log in and get access to our classes that you've paid for with your registration fee for the spring term. You will also be, you can request to join, and we'll show you how. You can request to join our private Spring 21 Facebook group. That's where you find John Brummett, for example, because he is a class that people have paid for as a part of their registration fee for the term. His class is really only open to registered members, and you get that by joining a private group on our Facebook page. And then you can also have access to our class recordings from this term. So if you miss a class on Monday and you want to watch it on Thursday, you will have access to that private YouTube channel. So we have public and we have private, and the private is really for registered and paid members. That's a benefit of being a member of LifeQuest.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here.
Please do.
And I'm going to show you all a sample of the registration confirmation email. If you have registered for classes, you have already received this email. If you didn't register yet and you're interested in LifeQuest classes, this is what it looks like. I have green bars over the password and login so that people can't just find this online and attend class for free. So if you'll notice in red, very top of the email, it says first, click here to watch a video. It's a 3-minute quick video. It shows you our website. It shows you where the login buttons are. And that's where you'll enter in the password and the username that's sent in the email. The second thing it asks you to do is click here to actually go to the website and do those things. So the first, watch the video. Second, visit the website, log in, kind of get a feel for it. And then further down in the email, it says, if you have a Facebook account, click here. It goes straight to Facebook and you can join our group. So there's a lot of information in that email. It also gives you instructions on how to attend this class. We'll do this class again next Monday if you want to take it again, or if you want to watch the recording in between now and then, or if we may do it about 3 weeks. Usually is about what we get attendance for. And after that, we just kind of take one-on-one phone calls. So I encourage you to look at that email closely. When you log in, this is a screenshot of what our web page will look like. So at the top, it says, welcome to the Spring 2021, that's a tongue twister, classes. And then it's arranged chronologically by day. So it says Monday, and it lists all the classes and the times. Tuesday, all the classes and the times. Under some of the classes, you'll see a button that says Zoom. And under some, you'll see one that says Zoom and Facebook. You can attend either way. All of you have made it into Zoom, and so maybe you're comfortable with Zoom. Some people never want to download that, never want to play with it, and they get on Facebook and only attend classes via Facebook. So we try to give you 2 options for attending classes. It's happening at the same time. It's not any different than what's going on in the other place. It's a little easier to interact with the instructor on Zoom, and you get to see other people in the class if they have their camera turned on. If you're on Facebook, you're just watching and maybe typing questions. But like for an exercise class, that would be fine because you're not there to talk anyway. You're just there to maybe do Tai Chi or the chair yoga movements. So the only class that we have that is only on Facebook is John Brummett. If you don't want to have a Facebook account, his video will be uploaded later in the day so you can watch it on the recordings, because we know that some people don't like Facebook. So we really try to cover both bases. If there's a Zoom link, when you click it, the password is embedded unless it's a limited class. And in that case, we have sent you an email with another password. So if you're taking paper crafting, and that is only for 8 people who have already got their materials at home and they're ready to do their hands-on class, they have another password. And that's why we were describing why we have 3 passwords. But if you ask your computer to save this login information for that login page, then you don't ever have to type a password again if you're just taking general classes. If you go in that email or click Facebook on this group page, it will take you to our Facebook group. And this is what the top of that page looks like on Facebook. It says Spring 2021 Private Group, because we want you to know that you've reached the private place, not the open to everybody Facebook group. I have in red there a big green button. It says Join Group. If you have a Facebook account, you click that, and then we will accept your membership, and it's as easy as that. If you're back on this web page, above our pretty pictures, you'll see some links. You'll see a link for class descriptions where you can read about classes, so that if you're not sure you want to take the Renaissance history class, you can read about it again. Or if you want to look at recordings, there's a link that says class recordings. There's also a link underneath that that says odds and ends. Some instructors give us handouts or websites that they want you to visit, and we will have their materials for you on this section called odds and ends, because we can't hand out papers to you here like we normally would at the church. So if an instructor says, I have materials for you, go to the odds and ends. If you miss a class, click class recordings. This is what happens when you click class recordings. It immediately takes you to a YouTube page. And this is a private YouTube page. You can't look for it on YouTube. So don't be scared if you find yourself on YouTube. That's okay. If you are a member of our Facebook group, the videos there, you can also look for other videos from past weeks and watch them there. So there's 2 different ways to watch recordings. And now we're going to get into Zoom. You all are here and you've learned how to unmute yourself. So before we go any further, do any of you have any questions about how we've set classes up?
So the very first thing is you're going to watch that video when you get your registration email and learn how to log on to the website. Just like you would log on to any other business's website, and it'll say log in at the top, and we will give you the password in your email.
And it's good for 1 term. So for instance, I have my bank bookmarked and I have it logged in, and my computer says, do you want to save this login and password? And I say yes. And so for all of spring, I'm able to log in there really quickly. If I register for classes again in the summer, we'll send you a new password and you type it in there and it'll say, do you want to update this password? And you say yes. And then you have access for the whole summer. So Zoom 101.
Okay. So I know there's some questions, and we'll get to those as you think of them. This is a great time to ask questions throughout, but we'll have another opportunity in a moment. But just to move into Zoom, since most of the way that we can interact the best in class is on Zoom. When you watch on Facebook, you can type in your questions in the chat or comments, but you really can't talk to each other and you can't see each other as well as you can in Zoom. So the best way to participate in LifeQuest classes is to attend the class when they actually happen, not just watch the recording, and to show up to class and to show up on Zoom. You're going to get the most out of it in that way. Depending on what your kind of computer you're working on, Zoom will have the same information, but it'll just condense it or expand it. If you've got a big screen like a desktop computer, you're going to get to see everything that you see at the bottom, all those little icons or buttons. If you have an iPad or a tablet, your screen's a little smaller, so you're not going to see as much, but it's there. You just have to know where to look, and we'll help you with that in a second. If you're on a cell phone, well, your screen's really much smaller, so you're going to have the same information, but you might only see 3 or 4 buttons at a time on your toolbar. Each screen looks a little different. But we will help you find how to mute, how to show your camera, start your video, how to participate, how to raise your hand. As you'll notice, she has a yellow arrow pointing to reactions. So if you're on a computer, and right now is a great time to practice. The only thing we don't want you to do is accidentally leave this meeting unless you need to leave. But this is a great time to push buttons, because that's what this tutorial is giving you time to practice with. So if you're on a computer and you see that reactions button, go ahead and click it. And you might be able to see how to raise your hand or give a thumbs up or a heart. Some of these reactions are a way that we can, without disturbing the instructor, give a reaction to what you're seeing and hearing. He may say, how many of you have, and you can raise your hand if it's that kind of thing, or yes or no, depending on what the instructor requests. If you want to clap for the instructor, clap is a little different than raise your hand. Clap has a little motion symbol next to it, and it's kind of a sideways 2 hands, where raise your hand is straight up and down. So if you have a question during class, monitors are in the class. It's often Gina, but it can be a trained staff member or volunteer even, who are looking for people who have their electronic hands raised. That way we know you have a question. However, Gina knows what I'm about to say about raised hand. If you are literally waving your hand, like she and I are both doing, that is a perfectly legitimate way to raise your hand if you have a question. That is absolutely fine, and that's what we will look for as well as an electronic raised hand.
These are just little bonuses because, you know, a lot of us, when we leave people, we say goodbye and we wave. So if you know how to clap, you can clap for your instructor, or send a heart that you really enjoyed his presentation. So that's just a little bonus. But I do want to point out one thing on this. When people log into Zoom, sometimes it will say, please join audio. And I get confused because I think, well, I'm joining the audio automatically, aren't I? You'll need to click call using internet audio, and that will use whatever your device that you're using. It will integrate your audio with your video. And so some people will have their computer working, but maybe they don't have a microphone on it. And so then they'll also call in with their telephone, and we'll see multiple devices for people sometimes. So I just wanted to point that out. Always use internet audio.
If it asks join with audio, you say yes. Or if it joins with the internet audio, say yes. And that'll help you be heard better.
Yeah, I don't see that anyone in here today has an iPhone or an Android phone, but I just want to point out that the screen for that is really tiny. And when you touch the screen, the menus will pop up. And so on these little bitty screens, there's a menu that sometimes people don't want to click. And it's 3 little dots. And it's like an ellipse sign that means more is here. And if you click that, you'll get another menu, and that will show where your chat box is and other functions. So don't be afraid of those 3 little dots if you see those pop up on your phone or
and
iPad.
If you touch your screen, or if you move your cursor so that you can wake up your Zoom toolbar where you see the mute and the stop button, you can look and see what are all those little buttons on that Zoom toolbar. Share screen, chat, record. Do I want to do all those things? Probably not. Probably the only one that you're ever going to want to do is mute and unmute. But this is a good time to kind of see, well, what are those reactions? What do those 3 little dots do? This is just, you're not going to disturb anybody in this class by pushing some buttons today, and that we're giving you permission to explore your screen. iPads, the same thing. Not everything can fit on that toolbar because the iPad screen's a little smaller. So the 3 little dots will open up an additional menu that gives you some more options. These are all sort of advanced Zoom options, raising hand and chatting. And there's some things that we do want you to know, but if you can get to Zoom, I can hear somebody. You can get to Zoom, and if you can hear and see the instructor, then that's all you need to do. All the rest is just kind of gravy. As long as you know how to get into the Zoom room, then you can take LifeQuest classes.
I just want to give a small hint here also. We do have a lot of people who use their iPad, and we can help you make a shortcut on your iPad screen. There's a video on our website that will show you how to do that. But most importantly, when you're attending class on an iPad, I recommend you set it on a table so that you don't accidentally touch the corner of the screen or cover up your microphone with your fingers. Because if you're holding something, you tend to move your hands around it, and it's so sensitive. And I've had people accidentally leave class who didn't mean to, and then they had to sign back in. If you attend class on a phone, sometimes you'll get a phone call or a message and it will interrupt, and people get flustered and don't know how to get back to class. So just know that set your iPad screen down, touch the screen if you need to get to a menu. If you get accidentally bumped out of class, you can join right back in.
Okay, here's just a little bit about etiquette. And just because I think everybody kind of likes to know what they're supposed to do, I do. But when you are when you're attending class, it's just like sitting in class as a student. If you were actually there, you wouldn't be on your phone, you wouldn't be talking to somebody else, you wouldn't be paying your bills or in front of the instructor. You would want to be paying attention to the instructor. But we're all at home now, and this is kind of what I've called Corona casual. We're just sort of more relaxed because we can do other things during a Zoom class, and that's fine. If you have to get up and talk to the UPS man or your spouse, or vacuum while you're taking a Zoom class, take your screen off and watch me. You can still hear me, but you can't see me. I've taken my video away, and I did that, so did Gina, by touching my start video, my little movie camera that's on my toolbar. And you can practice that right now. It's a good thing to know. Not only can you mute and unmute yourself, but you can take your video away if you have to do something else. And you're not just, there you go. Charles and Ann did, Judy did. You're not disturbing anybody in the class. It's a lot less disturbing actually than having to get up and walk down in front of a whole bunch of rows of people in person. Linda and Ophelia, do you see the little stop video? The little video camera? Go ahead and touch that with your cursor. There you go. And you can take yourself away briefly. That way you're not, if you have to walk around with your and move locations, we're not seeing a bunch of busy walking and that kind of thing in the background. And you're not disturbing anybody. You can also mute and unmute yourself, like we've talked about. If you
There
have
are
to
some
take a phone
classes
call.
that are very small and they like for their video cameras to be on, and they like for everybody to be unmuted because they're just discussing things the entire time. However, there's also a class that's a movie class and it's 3 hours long. So if you want to turn off your video for that because you're watching a movie, that's totally fine. But at the end, when it's time to maybe talk about the movie with the instructor, you can turn your video back on and see everybody who's there.
And Linda, if you'll wait till after class, we'll make sure we help you get to those icons, because I think I muted myself. She's still needing some help with how to find those. So we'll be glad to talk to you. So knowing how to take your video off is just a nice etiquette, because we all have things we have to do. And sometimes, we have to do that. In the chat, this is an important function in some classes. When we have a really big class, it's harder to be interactive when you have 40 people in a Zoom class. Or the instructor may say, I'll take questions at the end, and you have a question right now and you don't want to forget. So if you wake up your toolbar by moving your mouse, you'll see that little speech bubble, and that's a chat. That is like sending notes in class. And we're going to practice this right now. If you open up your chat, if you click on that little chat, you'll see at the very bottom of that window that pops up, to, like a memo would have to, everyone. And there's a little downward arrow next to everyone. Do you want that note to go to everyone, or do you want it to just go to a certain person? Most of the time you want it to go to everyone. But if you're going to say something sassy about the instructor or about your fellow coworker, I can see Gina's face, then you better be sure that you really do want that note sent to everyone. This is a little etiquette tip. If I'm critical of an instructor, I don't maybe want everyone to see my note. I may just want to send it to Judy. And if I tick on that little arrow next to everyone and I scroll down, I can see Judy. I can see a specific name. I can see Bob. I can see Ophelia. I can send a note just to them.
Now, to practice, I've sent all of you just a little personal note that, yes, usually I pick on Leah about her bangs, but instead today it's my turn today. I just have to keep pushing them over. And that's not necessarily relevant to the class. Maybe you haven't seen somebody in class in a long time, or maybe somebody looks really familiar and you're like, did you work at AT&T? I think we worked together. Well, that's not something everybody needs to know, but this is perfectly acceptable for you to do during class. Practice with the chat. And when you type in a message on many devices, you'll have to hit enter. And on small devices like an iPad or a phone, it may have a paper airplane, and you push that to send your message.
Yeah, usually it's enter. And if you'll say, I've been saying good morning to a lot of you, and I'm not getting very many responses back. You can tell you have a chat if your little chat window has a little red 1 or 2. That tells you how many messages you have. So see if you can send a little. Yeah, there we go. I'm getting some messages back. That's how to send message, and you hit return or enter to send the message. So that's a way for you to send messages. You may be thinking, I'm not going to send messages in class. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to to learn and get the information from the instructor. I'm not going to be sending notes in class. And that may be true, but you may want to receive a note, and that is important. If the instructor gives his website or his email or her phone number or a link to something that is important and relevant to the class, and she may say, I've sent it in the chat. And you're like, well, where's that? This is why that's important, is if you see that little chat bubble turn red and has a little number next to it, then you know that it's something for you to open, and it's okay to push that button, push that chat button so you can see and read the information, because it may be something you need to know.
That's important to learn about Zoom. You can press any of those buttons and it's not going to bother anybody else except the leave button. And that's just going to make you leave class. That won't bother anybody else, but that's just going to have you leave. So any of those buttons that you want to click on in class is fine. It's not going to bother anybody. There are some instructors that only want questions at the end, and a monitor can read your questions later, or you can say, I'm going to type my question here. And then in 10 minutes, when they open it up for questions, it's written down, and I know that reminds me to ask, or maybe the instructor's addressed it and you doesn't need to be asked. So
I just sent everyone a chat that included the LifeQuest email and how to get to our website. So if you see that in your chat, that's an example of some information that an instructor might send you, and you might go, oh, I really need that. That is not going to show up in the recording, so you may have to write that down. But monitors are constantly looking for questions that members write in the chat. Okay, so the next important button on Zoom is the leave meeting button, which, unless you want to leave right now, don't push it yet, but just know where it is. Again, when you move your cursor, move your mouse, or touch your screen, you can wake up your toolbar, and in usually the bottom right, sometimes it's in the top left?
the upper right, if it's on
Upper
an
right.
iPad.
It's always in the corner. It'll say leave meeting or leave. And Gina's written a little box in the middle here. It's like hanging up a phone. You don't really want to just close your laptop, because you may not have really turned off your camera or your audio. You actually want to hit that leave meeting, because it's just literally like hanging up the phone. It's disconnecting you from Zoom.
This is just if you need to leave early. At the end of class or conclusion of class, the staff, when we end a meeting, that kicks everybody out, and that makes Zoom stop on your device. So don't worry about it if the class is over and you've just been visiting, and then all of a sudden Zoom closes and it says this meeting has been ended by host. There's nothing else for you to do then except for maybe close your Zoom application. All right, some extra bits. Let's see what we have here. Before we go on to that, is there any questions about Zoom? Boy, y'all are such a quiet and compliant class.
I know we have some questions. Everybody has questions.
But it is a lot of information. And
I have a statement I'd like to make.
yes,
Alrighty.
Charles.
I logged on my phone a while ago and it interrupted. I apologize for that, but I was just checking to see if I could do that, and I was able to. So I apologize. Thank
It's
you.
No,
okay.
you're fine. That's absolutely, this is the time to experiment, and I'm glad that you tried that. That's great.
So if you want to take us with you to a doctor's office appointment, go ahead. You never know. We've been in the ER before. So.
We've had people sit in their in a parking lot and take a class and even teach a class in a parking lot between appointments. So that's the nice thing about Zoom, is we're pretty portable.
Okay, so I'll talk about the extra bits just a little bit. Something that is new with recorded classes is that we now have an annual library of all of the classes that we've done. And so while you're in a term, you have access to the recordings for that term. If you want to see classes that we've done in the past, then you will join our library, and it's $25 per year. You can watch these at any time, and we'll send you a little video again on what the username and password is for that. And you can take beginning watercolor from summer of 2020 or science from spring of last year, or over 300 videos are there already, just waiting on you guys to join and take classes. So the nice thing about this is these are all LifeQuest classes that are local instructors. It's not like joining PBS and their library of instructors, because you may never meet that instructor. But here, if you have a question and we can get in contact with the instructor for you, we're more than happy to do that. So
The library makes a great gift too. If you have a family member that's out of state, or a neighbor that's never heard of LifeQuest, a $25 library access gives them 350 videos that they can, kind of experiment and play around with and get a sense of what LifeQuest is all about, maybe before they join. And the nice thing about online classes is they can join from anywhere. We have right now 8 or 9 different states represented, people teaching and taking classes from out of state, and 1 foreign country. We have a woman from Scotland
and that
taking LifeQuest classes.
That prompts me to remind you of something else. COVID numbers are going down and up and down and up. And at some point, we anticipate having in-person classes again. However, we will always have online classes as well. It may not be the same classes that are in person. We may do a thing where on Mondays and Tuesdays, we have online classes. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we have in-person classes. So if you have family or friends that live out of state, or if you move out of state, LifeQuest is still a great resource for them, even down the line. So don't, worry that this is all going to go away and none of this is going to be important in the fall or in the next winter, because we'll continue with online classes in some capacity.
There's a lot of silver linings to it. We really have been found that we are connecting with people who are out of state, as I've mentioned, or maybe have mobility issues. Weather doesn't stop a Zoom class as long as the Wi-Fi connects. So we have found a lot of silver linings to having online classes. We miss having coffee and seeing people in person, but we are really glad to be able to see people that otherwise we wouldn't be able to because of online. Okay, is this your part?
Sure.
Sure.
So when we started online classes and we started this online tutorial, there were things that people didn't know how to do. And we realized that a lot of people didn't know how to do it. And so we gathered some videos from across the internet and we made some videos of our own. And we have those all on one page on our website. So on our website, we have a section of online class tutorials, and it's found under the What We Do banner. And on that page, you can learn how to create a Facebook account. You can learn how to reload and refresh a web page, how to bookmark a page on an iPad. How can you save things in Gmail so that you know to save important emails, and just questions that we were getting over and over, but we couldn't make this online orientation 3 hours long. And so we took chunks out of it and put it on a web page so that you could find the questions answered there. If at the end of this, you have questions that we didn't answer here and you don't see the answer there, let us know and we'll try to find out the answer for you. We want you to join the Facebook group if you can. And if you don't have an account, go to this website, learn how to make an account. And then that leads me to the Facebook, how do you join? One way we mentioned already was in the email, there's a link. And it says, click join as soon as you get this email. Many times on Wednesday morning, people will realize they haven't requested to join and Brummett starts in 2 minutes. Well, we're already behind the scenes working with John Brummett, and we might not be able to get you into the Facebook group fast enough for you to watch the entire presentation. So that's why we ask that you prepare a little bit in advance. If you're already on Facebook and you use it all the time and you like to search for things on there, you can search for the LifeQuest Spring 2021 group and request to join that way also. So there's 2 different ways you can find us and join. This is a little video that I made on how to find it when a class is live on Facebook. So I'm going to play this video and talk you through what's happening. This was in our winter group. for the spring, you'll want to have the spring up at the top, the green color. If you'll notice, let me pause for a second. I'm going to use my mouse. Underneath the about and discussion, it says, do you want to make a post? Well, you're going to ignore that and keep going down a little bit. Here, it's going to say either recent post or I forgot what the other word was. Let me go back and see. Oh, let me go back a little bit more. New activity. Okay, so it says new activity or recent post. You're going to want to switch that to recent post so that the most current thing is up at the top. It's kind of counterintuitive because you think, well, newest activity, that's the newest thing that's going on. Not necessarily, because someone could have made a comment on a video that's 3 weeks old, and that would be the newest activity. But if you say recent post, that puts it in chronological order of the post. So if I continue to play, you'll see here in the corner, I'm circling the red live button. If you see the red live square, that video is happening right then. If you see another video that does not have that red live in it, that's a recording. And that happened earlier in the week. So this is videos with just John's page on it, or John's videos. In this video beneath, there's no red live, but at the top video there was. So that's just, I'm showing that how to notice when there are live videos. At the top of the web page, you might have to refresh your page if you come to Facebook too early. It usually goes live at 8:59 or 9 o'clock. Other classes may start just a few minutes earlier. Zoom classes, we usually get there at 5 minutes until the hour so that you can go ahead and come in and talk to your instructor for a little bit, or anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes earlier. So for Facebook though, they just start like a minute before. All right. Questions about anything?
I'm wondering if you should have, did it show the refresh button on that Facebook page? I don't think it did.
No, it didn't. There's a video on our website where they
Okay.
can learn how to reload and refresh. It's a common symbol on a lot of web browsers. It's a circle with an arrow. And if you click that circle with the arrow, that will refresh your page. I see that Anne or Charles has a question. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you to unmute and see what your question is. Go ahead.
Ann signed us up for the online. Did that we have a website, a Facebook account. Does that automatically sign us up to the Facebook, or do you have to sign up for Facebook?
You have a Facebook account, but
Yes.
in order to become a member of our group, you'll have to join the group. It doesn't automatically happen. We don't have any software that talks to Facebook, and so it doesn't know who our members are.
I see.
But in that email that I sent, it says click here to join our Facebook group, and you can click there. It will automatically open up our page on Facebook, and then you can click the little green join group button.
Okay.
We wish it did automatically connect you to, as a member to our private group, but it makes us makes us manually do it. So we know you're a member. We just have to you have to manually request to join the group every term, because you pay a registration fee every term, and then we have to manually accept you into that group.
And joining the group is just like joining a church group or something like that. Once you've joined, you don't have to do it again, and we'll maybe show up in your news feed. Or if you're on the class list page and you click Facebook instead of Zoom to go to class, it will automatically take you to that page.
You have to join it again each term, but not each class.
Okay, but you can watch it either way, either Facebook or Zoom.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
Most
For
classes
most
are both.
classes.
Sometimes people don't want to be on Facebook, or some classes don't want to be recorded. If it's a class where they're going to be sharing kind of personal information, they may not want. Our limited classes are not recorded, for example, and so they may not. But most of our classes, our open lecture classes, are on Facebook and on Zoom, so you can participate either way.
Thank
We
you.
also don't show the movie class on Facebook because of the copyright issues. They kind of zap us and they don't show the whole movie. And so even though we have the fair use rights to show it in class and in person, on Facebook, it's a little different because they have ways they can see when you're showing stuff. So
But we do have some confusion, and sometimes people say, okay, I've done everything right. I've joined your Facebook group and I've been sitting here for 10 minutes waiting for John Brummett to appear. And that's why she said you have to reload your page, because if you get there too early, it's not going to magically pop up. You have to hit that circle arrow, refresh, and then you'll see the live. And that's a Facebook quirk. That is not LifeQuest. We wish it was easier for everybody, but Facebook has so many millions of things happening at one time. You have to reload or refresh. Those means the same thing to make
and if you miss it, you can watch the recording later.
you can
Or
watch
if you
the
don't like
recording.
Facebook, you can watch the recording later. Or maybe politics aren't your thing and you never want to watch John Brummett at all. That's totally fine. We're
That's
here for
fine
you
too.
too.
All right. what
I
other
just wanted to
questions?
point this out real quick. If you do have questions about something that is class related or is not class related, for instance, you have a printer you're having issues with, or you don't know how Zoom works on your phone, we have a digital learning committee, and some of those people offer their time and talents and they volunteer to help people one-on-one. So if they can help you over the phone, give us a call and we'll hook you up with one of them. They're not going into homes yet because of COVID still, but there are a lot of things they can still help with over the phone.
Yeah. And they're very wonderful. I mean, they're very willing to share their time and have and to help you through anything that you're just frustrated with, not able to connect, having some computer issues yourself. Please let us know, and we'll have them call you at a time that's convenient for you both, and you can set up an appointment.
Ophelia asked a question in the chat, and
good job.
to answer her question, I am going to stop sharing that screen and share a different screen for a minute. Let's see. I just want to show you what this looks like live so that maybe it makes a little bit more sense. I have logged into the LifeQuest website, and on the side, it says Spring 2021 Class Access. This is how I go to class. So I'm going to click here. When I go down the page, at 10 o'clock on Mondays is grandparenting. It has a Zoom button. If that's the class I'm going to, I'll click Zoom and it will take me to class. If I wait on Tuesday and want to go to the Bible Doesn't Say That, I have two buttons, Zoom or Facebook. I can get to class either way. A lot of our classes are both methods, but as Leah said, some of the limited classes, for instance, the Enneagram is not on Facebook and it's not recorded. So you actually have to attend class. Most of the classes are on both platforms, Zoom and Facebook. You don't have to have the password anymore because you just click Zoom and it takes you straight there. One thing that is a little confusing sometimes is on Wednesdays at noon, we have guest speakers. This takes the place of when we met in person and we had a lunch speaker. And we always said the lunch speaker was free and open to the public. We didn't even make you purchase a lunch. You could bring your own brown sack of lunch and be entertained by whatever was happening. So this is free and open to the public. Again, it's only on Facebook though. And so you just click the Facebook button and this goes to our public Facebook page, not the private one. So that's kind of a little different. If I click there, it goes to LifeQuest of Arkansas. And it doesn't have anything about spring or winter or summer. It's just the general page.
It's that public umbrella that we talked about at the beginning, not the
But
private group.
If it's a video that's live, it will have the red word live in the corner and you can click play.
Gina, will you go back to the front of the home page of the website and show them at the very top where the login button is? It's in two places.
The login button is in the red bar at the top, and it's also underneath our logo in this menu.
So when you first get your confirmation email, when you registered, it'll have your login username and password. And when you press login, it'll pop up and you'll put that in. And if it says save this information, say yes. And that way you never have to worry about it again.
See, I can log out, but I don't have to. And if I want to log out, it's just going to maybe hopefully have those two things in there still because I've asked it to save it. If I didn't ask it to save it, I could have it on a sticky note. Maybe I'm at a public library and I want to go to class. Or maybe you're visiting your grandkids and you want to, use their computer to go to class. You can do this from anywhere that has an internet connection.
But you just log in, you type your username and password, and then you can say class, class access and go to class on Zoom or Facebook. So
Ophelia, did that answer your question?
Yeah, we hope we have
Okay.
made this, we've tried to tweak it with information that we're receiving from members about what they're having difficulty with to make it easier each time. But you know how computers are, just as soon as it works in one spot, you may have some difficulty. And keep in mind that Zoom is new for our instructors who are all volunteers. So some of our instructors are as new or newer to Zoom and teaching online as you are to attending class and learning online. So their Wi-Fi connection may not be great one day, or they may be confused about how to connect. So we're all still in this process of learning and how to do it.
Every term, we're lucky enough to have new instructors.
Yeah.
And so we get a lot of the same instructors like John Brummett or Rick Leach or Fred Silva, repeat instructors, but we also get new people. And we also have special classes that are set up for 8 weeks where maybe it's a different instructor each 8 weeks, like our Arkansas Traveler, where we're going to different museums. Some of these people at the museums aren't frequent users of online classes. And so that's why staff is there to help them as well as help you. So we want you to learn something and have fun. We hope you've learned something today and have had fun. Don't know if you have any questions. I'm kind of looking around. You all are just still very compliant and quiet.
Linda, do you want to stick around after we stop recording and let us help you find your toolbar? Okay,
Okay.
she said okay.
All right, I'll go ahead and stop recording.
And everybody